Mr. the Mad here, and we've got some news from Rogue Factor and Focus Interactive about Necromunda Underhive Wars. The new community update for October 21st has just come out. So I'll just quickly read through it and then we can have a little talk about it a little bit. It's just very brief, so it won't take long. Greetings, friends and fellow Necromunda Underhive Wars players. We're happy to be back today with fresh development news. The release of our first 1.1 update earlier this month has only been the first step of our work on community feedback. After this first round of technical fixes, we're now looking into your suggestions and we'd like to give you more visibility on what's coming next. Upcoming update and content. The team has been working hard on players' reports and ideas, and our next patch will focus on the topics below: faster AI decision-making, overall stability improvements, progression issue corrections, infamy points achievements, various other bug fixes. We'll dive deeper into the full patch notes once the next update deploys. We'll then continue to read and compile your reports to guide our future development efforts. Besides global improvements based on your feedback, we hear your request for new content and we confirm that it's coming. We'll have more information to share on this subject following the release of the next 1.2 update. And then there's some information about the Digital Tabletop Fest. If you're interested in that stuff, you can read that for yourself. So yeah, it's just the news about the next update for Necromunda Underhive Wars is the big news for this, and the other part of it is the confirmation that DLC will be coming. So with the update, the 1.2 update, there's not really much information here, so it's it'd be nice if they could confirm exactly what's going to be fixed and stuff. But they said the further information will come out when they do the actual update. They'll have the full patch notes. But they've just said faster AI decision making, which they said the same thing for the previous patch. They did some improvements there. I guess they're going to do more. Overall stability improvements. Again, they improved a lot with the crashes for multiplayer in the 1.1 patch. I noticed multiplayer crashes a lot less now. However, skirmish mode in general, multiplayer and non-multiplayer, still crashes quite a bit. There's some other crashes, but those are the main crashes that I encounter whenever I do skirmish, either PvP or non-PvP skirmish mode. It often crashes, especially at the end or in the last couple of turns, so you're going to lose all your progress. It's really frustrating. So those would be really welcome, any stability improvements. Progression issue corrections, infamy points, achievements. So there's an infamy bug that I've heard about. I haven't had it myself, and also achievements. Apparently some people are having problems getting achievements and stuff. So I haven't had the infamy bug, so it's not that big of a deal, and I don't really care about the achievements, so that's not any big of a deal for me either. What I really care about is the stat point bug and the maximum stat upgrade bug. Those are not mentioned there, so I would have really liked if they were mentioned there. I would hope that they're aware of those bugs, and that those ones are probably even more important to me than these ones, because the infamy points, sure, if you lose all your infamy points and your gang's lost all your progress and stuff, that's pretty frustrating. But if you got a really nice character that you really like, and then they get the stat bug, and then they they lose all their stats, or they get the upgrade bug and they've lost their maximum stats, something like that. That's super frustrating. That makes you want to rage, I suppose losing infamy points makes you want to rage as well, but there's a lot of rage. But yeah, anyway, so I really hope that those two bugs that I mentioned are on the list as well, and will be included in this next patch, because until those two are fixed, and those two and the infamy points, I think those three progression problems, until those three things are fixed, you just can't really play the game properly. You have to use workarounds and avoid certain things, and I think I still kind of consider the game a bit broken until those things are fixed. Once those things are fixed, then even if there's a lot of other bugs, then I just consider it sort of buggy but essentially working, not broken. At the moment, I think it still is kind of broken. You have to use a lot of workarounds. You can still play it and still progress and everything, but you have to be quite careful to avoid certain things. And I've got if you check out my channel, I've got the Necromunda Underhive Wars Player Survival Guide. Has some tips for how to avoid the worst bugs. And it says various other bug fixes. So yes, it doesn't have too much specifics here on what's going to get fixed, but I guess they're still working on it. So they'll, but it's reassuring that they are working on it. So all I wanted to say, I guess, about that was, obviously they haven't said anything up until now because they just didn't have the details to be able to share it. But there has been a lot of sort of feedback, I guess, or backlash on the forums and around social media and stuff about Rogue Factor and Focus's lack of communication, and some people were getting quite angry about that, and just about the fact that they haven't said anything. So I don't know if that's influenced this or not, but yeah, they've obviously recognised that people want to hear something. They've made a statement. And for myself, it actually does reassure me a little bit. It's like, yep, cool, they are working on it. There's another update coming out. I think we realize now that it's not one of these big companies that's got the resources to be just pumping out updates every few days. It's going to take them a while to do each update. But when I think about this game being, like, the bones of this game are really amazing, and it's got the potential to be a truly great game, I think. And so if it lives up to that potential, then I'm potentially going to be playing this game for years and years. So when you think of that timescale of years and years, the first patch came out within a month or so. Maybe another patch will come out within 2 or 3 months. We'll have like a second and maybe a third patch. So like from launch, I mean, not from now. So if it takes like 3 months to get the game into a pretty good state in terms of the lifetime of me playing this game, then maybe that's not too bad. That's kind of what I'm thinking now. Obviously, it's frustrating if you can't play it. If you're on Xbox and you basically can't play the game still because they haven't even got patch 1.1, or if you're on PS4 or PC and you're waiting for 1.2 patch, which is hopefully going to fix a lot of the lot of issues that we've still got. But I mean, I'm enjoying the game a lot right now. I've kind of figured out how to get around some of the bugs, and I'm able to have really enjoyable experience, and I'm looking forward to it being even more enjoyable once those bugs are fixed. So so that has reassured me. The other really big news is that the DLC is coming. So we hear your request for new content, and we confirm that it's coming. So that was the other big question. I think it was pretty much confirmed that they wanted to make DLC for the game, but it was kind of assumed that was dependent on how financially successful the game was. If they got a lot of sales early on, then they would likely make heaps of DLC. Obviously, if the game didn't get a lot of sales, then they would likely make less DLC or no DLC. And there's been a lot of kind of negative press and a lot of kind of negative stuff said about the game and everything. So I think a lot of us were worried that meant that maybe maybe the game failed, financially. Maybe there is not going to be any DLC. Maybe they're not even going to support it anymore. Maybe the whole thing's just going to fold, So that was kind of like a big concern. And this update's basically saying, no, that's not the case. We're still working on it. It's still in development. They're still, fixing bugs, working on improving the game, and they're still making the DLC. They're saying, they didn't say we're hoping to make some DLC. They said we can confirm it is coming. So they're definitely going to be doing a DLC. So I think most of the speculation is that it'll be either Delaque gang, Saar gang, or Cawder gang. So, I mean, there's no guarantees that the first DLC will actually be a gang, but I think that's what most people will expect and want, because only 3 of the 6 main gangs were released at launch. So, most people, I think, at bare minimum, if they're fans of Necromunda, at bare minimum, they want the 6 main gangs, main houses to be released. And then, I mean, obviously we want more than that as well. We want everything we can possibly get. But yeah, I think that it's reasonable to expect that the first DLC will be another gang. And that would be great. The prospect of future DLC, I think, really gives you a lot, is exciting and makes you want to kind of invest more in the game in terms of your time and stuff. yeah, I'm really looking forward to the game expanding in every way that it can, with more gangs, more content, more game modes, hopefully more kind of game mechanics that we haven't seen yet, perhaps. All that stuff might be a little bit ambitious. Maybe none of that stuff's going to come, but yeah, I think that more gangs is definitely very likely, and it's very definitely likely that this first DLC will be a new gang as well, because they don't need to like create any new mechanics or anything. All the skills are already in the game. It's just a matter of creating art assets and animations and stuff like that. So they haven't said anything about when the DLC is coming, but in terms of the marketing of the game, my theory on how they would deal with this negative backlash from the launch. So yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, the game launched not as early access, as a full release, and then there was a lot of bugs, a lot of crashes. A lot of people were quite frustrated about that, and then a lot of people put out some really negative reviews straight away on day one, saying that the game was really bad and really buggy and stuff like that. Not saying that was inaccurate or anything, but I'm just saying that obviously that hurt the sales quite a lot. And I don't know what the figures are, but as I understand it, they didn't get a huge amount of sales, which is a bummer considering like it's such a good looking game. But just those stability issues and bugs and stuff like that, I kind of think really hurt it. And there was a lot of press backlash. There's a lot of bad reviews about it really early, basically. For me, it seemed obvious to me that if I was the one marketing Necromunda or trying to run the business side of things, then I would be aiming to have a sort of pseudo relaunch once everything is fixed. So I suspect that's what they're going to aim to do with this DLC, and that would be the logical thing, I think, because basically like they're working on the fixes right now for the various bugs and stuff, and the people that have already bought the game, those fixes are going to make them happy, like when they can finally play the game the way they want to and not have to deal with the frustration of those bugs and stuff like that. But those fixes aren't going to do anything much, I don't think, about getting people that didn't buy the game initially because they saw all the bad press. They're unlikely to kind of come back and say, oh, there's a patch that maybe improves some stuff, maybe now I'll buy the game. That some people definitely will, I'm sure, but it's not as sort of a big and lively enough of an event just for a new patch to come out to get like millions of new people to come and buy the game, Whereas I think if they sell a new product like a DLC, that is an opportunity for them to do a lot of marketing and I'll get a lot of people that potentially buy it past it, that potentially did a pass on the game initially to actually buy the DLC and buy the game. But that's only going to work if they fix the majority of the bugs beforehand, because otherwise when they bring out the DLC, there's going to be another backlash against it, even worse, saying how you sold us the game, you didn't even fix it, now you're trying to make more money by selling this DLC. So from a marketing point of view, it seems to me like it would be silly for them to release that DLC before they've got the game at least fixed to the point where they're not getting a lot of negative press and a lot of frustration from people about it. So maybe I'm making a few sort of suppositions that are a bit thin, but to my mind, it seems like the obvious thing for them to do is to kind of try to relaunch the game with a DLC sometime in the next, couple of months or a few months or whatever. And for that to be successful, they really need to fix the game before that. So I imagine if they're smart people, and I imagine they are, then that's what they'll be aiming to do. So yeah, the next patch is the 1.2 patch. Should be coming out pretty soon. And then there may be more patches after that. I'm not sure what the next schedule after that will be, but they've confirmed there will be DLC. And I suspect they're going to hopefully get the game into a reasonably good state before that DLC comes out. So yeah, it's looking up for the next few months, in my opinion. Even though this is a pretty thin little release, it's actually given me quite a bit of hope about the future of Necromunda. So yeah, it's good news. Look forward to patch 1.2. Thanks, guys. That's all I got.